Hello and welcome. If you're not new to this channel, you know that this used to be a channel about animation and about animation that weren't that smooth or that fluid, but I was just beginning animating things, and recently I've been accepted in the school I've been wanting to go to for years, so I'm very excited about it. It's been also years that I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel and start to make review about novels and movies that I've liked, so decided that I'll dive into it. I'm new, I know my English is not great, I'm French and my accent is catastrophic, but I'm really trying to follow PewDiePie or Matt Mickelson example and try it anyway, even though I don't have a perfect accent. I hope you will be able to understand what I'm saying. Anyway, I'll be adding subtitles both in English and in French for you to understand. I hope you will be enjoying it. If you do, please press like or comment below the video. It's not perfect, but I'll be trying to improve it. For instance, I'll be needing a background because this is just my room and I'm not very good at decorating it for the moment. It's just Sherlock, Leonardo da Vinci, a drawing from one of my best friends, and books, and my bed, right there. Yeah, not much. Have a good video, and have a good life. That's important. Good night. According to the very funny and instructive website Urban Dictionary, the term Yuppy stands for Young Urban Professional, which are people described as to be shallow, very concerned about their appearance, coming from fraternities and owning expensive houses or apartments. This definition summarizes what the novel American Psycho, which was published in 1991, is about. This novel is a transcription of Patrick Bateman's diary, which depicts the life of the New York white upper class as well as the psychology of a serial killer by representing all of his obsessions. Indeed, this book is a strong immersion into the mind of a maniac as well as a real testimony of what it was to richly live in New York in the 90s. The recurring topic of the AIDS, the omnipresence of posters for the Broadway show Les Miserables, as well as many references to real people such as Tom Cruise or Donald Trump strongly date this novel and create a strong immersion for the readers. I've decided to read the novel after I have been watching the movie adaptation and strongly liked Christian Bale's acting and wanted to know more about his character. Though however interesting this book has been to me and how much I would recommend reading it, I must admit that it was sometimes hard to read, mostly because of the style of the author, Easton Ellis, which consists in very detailed closing description, which can sometimes sound like a modern Balzac. Easton Ellis also uses abrupt interruption and strong digression, which shows how much deranged the narrator and main character is. Indeed, Patrick Bateman covers several obsessions, and some of them have become classic references in the cinematographic community after the releasing of the movie. For instance, his obsession to get a reservation at the high-best restaurant of New York, the Dorsia, but we can also think about his famous line, "I need to return some videotapes."
I have to return some videotapes.
It is hard for me to express how much I liked reading this book and watching this movie. But in order to perhaps tempt you to watch it or read it, I'm going to list you all the themes of the novel and I'm going to explain you why I thought that it was that much well written. Chapter 1. Yuppy Conformity, Class Arrogance and Suicidal Thoughts. To start with, conformity is one of the main topics of this novel. The topic is overwhelming and I liked how the author succeeded in making us feel small and invisible through Patrick Bateman's eyes. Everything seems to be a competition to the Yuppies of New York, and the prize is to stand above the others. What is your role in your company? How expensive is your place? Did you buy the last system for your TV? What hairdresser do you go to? Can you get a reservation tonight to the most hyped restaurant of New York?
I have to go.
Courtney! Dinner.
I can't.
I'm thinking Dorsia.
Dorothy's nice.
Yes, I know it's a little late, but is it possible to reserve a table for 2 at 8 or 8:30, perhaps?
Patrick, thanks so much for looking after Courtney. Dorcia, how impressive. How on earth did you get a reservation there?
Lucky, I guess.
I got an 8:30 res at Dorcia. Great. Sea urchin ceviche.
Dorcia on Friday night. How do you swing that?
I think he's lying.
Start getting a reservation at Dorcia now, you fucking stupid bastard!
They need distinction, because they are all the same. Indeed, the men are all wearing the same suits, buying the same brands, using the same body and hair products, kissing their hair in the same way.
Louis is wearing a wool crepe suit, a cotton broadcloth shirt, and a silk tie, all by Ralph Lauren. Like me, like Charles, he wears his hair slicked back, and he's wearing Oliver People's redwood-framed glasses. Mine, at least, are non-prescription.
Very often, everyone seems to take Patrick for someone else. Strangers will wave at him, call him a name that is not his, and ask him how is his wife going. And he will kindly answer them or wave back at them, even though he has no wife and no idea of who this person was.
After someone who I think is Hamilton Conway mistakes me for someone named Ted Owen and asks if I can get him into Petty's tonight, I tell him I'll see what I can do, then turn what's left of my attention to Jean.
Even his friends tend to mix him up with other people, and that does not seem to annoy Patrick anymore, who gets along and plays a game.
Hello, Halberstram.
Nice tie.
How the hell are you?
Alan has mistaken me for this dickhead Marcus Halberstram. It seems logical because Marcus also works at PNP and in fact does the same exact thing I do. He also has a penchant for Valentino's suits and Oliver People's glasses. Marcus and I even go to the same barber, although I have a slightly better haircut.
We should have dinner. Maybe you could bring,
Cecilia?
Yes, Cecilia.
Oh, Cecilia would adore it.
Well, then let's do it, Marcus. Great party.
Thanks. Patrick, why is he calling you Marcus?
Patrick knows he is replaceable and thinks that his existence is meaningless, which leads him to deep existential crisis, during which he talks about how little he feels and how little the people would care if he just disappeared.
I stare into a thin, web-like crack above the urinal's handle and think to myself that if I were to disappear into that crack, say somehow miniaturize and slip into it, the odds are good that no one would notice I was gone. No one would care. In fact, some, if they noticed my absence, might feel an odd, indefinable sense of relief. This is true. The world is better off with some people gone.
This novel is also a strongly depreciative representation of the rich New Yorkers, showing how little many of them care about the sort of the others. Even when they seem to be close friends, they actually do not know much about each other, and sometimes the lack of humanity is striking.
That's Miles. Karen peers over at some aging gorilla in the next booth with a graying crew cut and an 11-year-old bimbo balanced on his lap. Libby turns around to make sure. But I thought he was filming that Vietnam movie in Philadelphia. No, the Philippines, Karen says. It wasn't in Philadelphia. Oh, yeah, Libby says then. Are you sure? Yeah, in fact, it's over, Karen says in a tone that's completely undecided. She blinks. In fact, it's out. She blinks again. In fact, I think it came out last year.
If Patrick Bateman is a highly misogynistic, racist, homophobic, elitist, rapist, and murderer, he sometimes seems to be less soulless than the society he lives in actually is. And I cannot tell how sad this is, and how not normal it is. To follow on that idea of inhumanity, Patrick's friends often show pure cruelty towards homeless people, asking for money on the streets of New York, just for a laugh.
McDermott, I ask, what in the hell are you doing? McDermott's eyes are glazed over and he's waving a dollar bill in front of the woman's face, and she starts sobbing, pathetically trying to grab at it. But of course, typically, he doesn't give it to her. Instead, he ignites the bill with matches from Canal Bar and relights the half-smoked cigar clenched between his straight white teeth. Probably caps, the jerk. How gentrifying of you, McDermott.
At the beginning of the book, for example, and in the movie version too, Patrick stops at a begging man in the middle of the night and offers him money before telling him that he should get work and that his poverty comes from his lack of trying and perseverance and that he deserves what is happening to him.
Hello. Pat Bateman. You want some, money? Some food? This what you need?
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Cold out too, isn't it? Why don't you get a job? If you're so hungry, why don't you get a job?
I lost my job.
Why? You drinking? Is that why you lost it? Insider trading? Just joking. Listen, what's your name?
Al.
Speak up, come on.
Al.
Get a goddamn job, Al. I'm sorry. It's just that... I don't know. I don't have anything in common with you.
Patrick seems to try to reproduce his friend's behavior, even though he previously asked his friend to stop, digging even further into his cruelty by ending stabbing the homeless man and his dog, and then feeling insulting him of being a parasite to society. On the other hand, while this rich and privileged part of society is highly narcissistic, none of them seems to live happily, and all of Bateman's friends are subject to suicidal thoughts. They are all taking drugs on a day-to-day basis.
They don't have a good bathroom to do coke in.
And all have had considered suicide. But nobody seems to ever try to understand each other or seriously talk about it, solely silencing it. Chapter 2. Self-hatred and inverse gender roles. In the same way, if Patrick Bateman criticizes everyone, he himself shifts from a high narcissistic level to the strongest point of self-hatred. Something that is not shown in the movie, and that I was surprised to find in the book, was the fact that, sometimes, Patrick Bateman cries. After violently having raped and killed a woman, he will sit, covered with blood, and cry that he just wanted to be loved.
The smell of meat and blood clouds up the condo until I don't notice it anymore. And later my macabre joy sours and I'm weeping for myself. Unable to find solace in any of this, crying out, sobbing, I just want to be loved. Cursing the earth and everything I have been taught. Principles, distinctions, choices, morals, compromises, knowledge, unity, prayer. All of it was wrong, without any final purpose. All it came down to was, die or adapt. I imagine my own vacant face, the disembodied voice coming from its mouth. These are terrible times.
This self-hatred often comes back, but never in an explicit way. It is only suggested that Patrick hurts himself. There is no sense of scarification, but he always carries razor blades in his wallet and listens to broadcasts about people mutilating themselves. Often, Patrick inflicts pain to himself, with no apparent reason. Perhaps it's in order to lose weight, or perhaps in order to feel something. Or even perhaps because he wants to feel forgiven for something he did.
While she was gone, I would vomit, just to do it, into the rustic terracotta jars that lined the patio in front, or I would drive into town with the scary masseur and collect razor blades. I make a phone call to check my messages. I return some videotapes. I stop at an automated teller. Last night, Jeanette asked me, Patrick, why do you keep razor blades in your wallet? The Patty Winters show this morning was about a boy who fell in love with a box of soap.
In this respect, we slightly understand how much pressure Patrick puts on his shoulders about the way he looks, and how much he is always restraining himself. In a conversation with his secretary Jean, who is eating a sorbet, when she asks him if he wants a bite, he automatically answers that he cannot, and even though he is really fit, he tells her that he is on a diet because, I quote, you can always be thinner.
Do you want a bite?
I'm on a diet, but thank you.
No need to lose any weight. You're kidding, right? You look great. Very fit.
You can always be thinner. Look better.
Well, maybe we shouldn't go out to dinner. I don't want to ruin your willpower.
That's all right. I'm not very good at controlling it anyway.
Bateman is a man fully aware of himself. He controls everything, and it is interesting to see in the movie how much Christian Bale looks at himself in the mirror or any reflection available. The way he looks is the most precious thing to his eyes, since he's empty inside. He needs to have a perfect shell on the outside.
He presents himself as this harmless old codger, but inside. But inside
doesn't matter.
Therefore, whenever anyone makes any remark on his appearance and slightly criticizes it, he comes to an existential crisis and seems to be on the verge of tears.
Why don't you get your hair styled that way? Before this comment, I was an automaton, only vaguely paying attention to Evelyn, but now I'm panicked, and I ask, what's wrong with my hair? In a matter of seconds, my rage quadruples. What the hell is wrong with my hair? I touch it lightly. Gosh, Patrick, she says, looking at every part of my face. What? I panic, immediately touching my hair. Too much mousse? You don't like the Kingsman? No, she laughs. I just don't remember you being so tan back at school. I had a tan then, didn't I? I ask. I put my elbow on the table and flex my biceps, asking her to squeeze the muscle. After she touches it reluctantly, I resume my questions.
I sincerely loved his gender role inversion. While we usually tend to associate toxic body awareness with womanhood, Patrick crosses his border by controlling that much himself, overcaring about his hair, his weight, his muscles. That much restriction cannot be healthy and humanly bearable, and therefore, even though this does not excuse anything, this must be one of the reasons for his madness. Chapter 3. Bateman's Rage and Madness. Obviously, we need to talk about the horror scenes. Those are not what made me want to read it or watch the movie, they are obviously inherent to it. Believe it or not, this was the first time I read explicit sex scene in a novel, and it surprised me a little bit. Patrick's vocabulary is always harsh, and his description of the scenes, almost chirurgical, can be repulsive to read, especially since they are often followed by intense passages of torture. Though the sex scenes of this novel and movie allow us to read a deeper characterization of Patrick Bateman, who, in bed, always wants to be in power, gives order, and does not really care about the pleasure of the woman he is sleeping with. I will not expand on this much longer, but those passages of sexual torture and murders are as interesting as strongly disturbing, mainly because they are a little bit too imaginative for the reader not to question the author's sanity. Hey, didn't I just change my outfit? That's right, it's because I have to record another day of the week this video. Guess why? Because my microphone just decided that it wouldn't record, so half of the video is just wasted. Because the audio is absolutely terrible, and I didn't want to have a video with such a terrible audio for the first time on my YouTube channel. So yes, I changed my outfit because I changed of the day. Yes, I'm a freaking god. So here we go, back again. I'm going to reread all of that. It's going to take a while. Yay. I'm happy with my life and my summer occupation. Though we do not know much about Patrick Bateman's entire life, we only know that he has a brother he despises and divorced parents.
Well, you're late.
Hey, I'm a child of divorce. Give me a break.
We know that his bloodthirst started way earlier, when he was a teenager, and that he started murdering people in Harvard. Patrick, in his diary, explained that this thirst never vanished and is exponential. He sometimes seems to lose control and is scared of what he feels the need to do.
My rages at Harvard were less violent than the ones now, and it's useless to hope that my disgust will vanish. There is just no way.
Something horrible is happening inside of me, and I don't know why. My nightly bloodlust has overflowed into my days. I feel lethal, on the verge of frenzy. I think my mask of sanity is about to slip.
His thirst often explodes out of the blue, and it takes him a lot of control to restrain himself. And here comes another interesting writing style. The author alternates between normal description or conversation and sudden short sentences about how Patrick would like to hurt the person he's talking to. The contrast between the way he acts and the way he thinks is huge, and sometimes, when he touches the knife he always carries in his trousers pocket, It seemed as if he was ready to randomly stab someone.
It takes some time, but she finally relents and smiles back at me, and I ask her once again, "Tell me more." And then, under my breath, smiling a rictus at her, "I'd like to slice open your beaver."
Sony on the rocks.
These aren't good anymore. It's a cash bar. $25.
You're a fucking ugly bitch. I want to stab you to death, then play around with your blood.
This urge seems to torture him because he cannot control it, and often, after torture and murder, Patrick Bateman comes to an impressive state of calm and peace. In the movie's famous scene, Hip to be Square, in which he kills Paul Owen, played by Jared Leto, when he's done with killing him with an axe, he sits down and smokes a cigar in the most serene way. This total lack of empathy is essential to the novel, and it is interesting to notice how painful Patrick says his life is, and how calm he gets after murdering someone. Chapter 4. Bateman's lack of personality. To carry on, one of Bateman's main characteristics is the fact that he does not have any feeling, and therefore cannot express any personal opinion on any subject. He only refers to mainstream media such as the Patty Winter Show he refers to in each chapter, and only goes to a restaurant or buys something if someone famous has given a good review on it.
Courtney, you're gonna have the peanut butter soup with smoked duck and mashed squash. New York Matinee called it a playful but mysterious little dish. You'll love it.
3 full chapters of the book are dedicated to him reciting what seems to be the discography of his favorite artists and bands, Phil Collins, Whitney Houston, and Huey Lewis from the News.
You like Huey Lewis and the News? Their early work was a little too new wave for my taste. But when Sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own, commercially and artistically. Did you like Phil Collins? I've been a big Genesis fan ever since the release of their 1980 album. It was on Duke where Phil Collins' presence became more apparent.
But there is no personal justification. We do not know why he likes those songs, and it sounds as if he had only learned by heart an article from a special magazine in order to have something to say about so much Woodward-like artists in the conversation. In the same way, sometimes Patrick brutally changes and becomes the most romantic man of all times. He offers beautiful holidays to his girlfriend Evelyn, whom Huey often cheats by the way, in which they remake every cliché of a romance film. During those moments, Patrick is trying his best to be the perfect man according to the movie standards, and he seems to really be wishing the best to his lover. However, as soon as he comes back to New York, the murders come back harder than ever. Chapter 5. His inability to face Misfits and his bisexual potential. If I had to choose one detail of the book that made me identify to the main character, it would certainly be Patrick's desperate and sometimes pathetic attempt to fit in, to be part of society.
Patrick, we should do it.
Do what?
Get married, have a wedding.
No, I can't take the time off work.
Your father practically owns the company. You can do anything you like, silly.
I don't want to talk about it.
I hate that job anyway. See why you just don't quit.
Because I want to fit in.
Though this is an understandable desire for anyone, this makes Patrick feel overproud to success in having possession and being attractive, which drives him to the impossibility to gaze at someone who did not succeed. Misfits remind him how much of an outcast he himself is, and he needs to make them disappear, and this is why he feels the need to kill beggars and homosexuals. It seems extremely hard for him to stand homosexuality, and he often insults two delicate men of being the F-word. Several times in the novel, some men flirt with him, and often, when he describes the look of a character he's talking to, he describes how well their hair is combed and how much they must have worked out earlier to look that great. It is, indeed, hard to determine if this is about jealousy, envy, or physical attraction. But in any way, Patrick will never admit any bisexual potential and violently rejects any form of homosexuality. This idea is personified by the character of Louis Caruthers, a colleague of Patrick, who happens to have fallen in love with him. The way Bateman is referring to Louis Caruthers is always condescending. But since Louis works in the same company as he does, wears the same suits, goes to the same gym, they are practically the same. The only difference between them are that Lewis Carruthers is shyer than him, more delicate, and that some rumors of homosexuality tarnish his reputation. The idea that Lewis Carruthers could be him, if he accepted his attraction to the same sex, irritates Patrick Bateman and could result in his inexplicable hate for him, depicted through the novel. It is as if he could not stand the idea of being attracted to the same sex, which would turn him into an outcast. In the novel, we never know why Patrick needs to hurt so many people, and particularly so many rich women or prostitutes, but perhaps this behavior could result from internalized homosexuality.
I can't look at him, but I sense he's moved closer to me. His voice confirms it. Patrick? Hello? Closing my eyes, I move a hand up to my face and mutter under my breath, "Don't make me say it, Lewis." "Patrick?" he says, feigning innocence. "What do you mean?" A hideous pause, then, "Patrick, why aren't you looking at me?" "I'm ignoring you, Lewis." I breathe in, calming myself by checking the price tag on an Armani button-up sweater. "Can't you tell? I'm ignoring you."
About that, trivialized homophobic insults can be found all over the novel.
Why aren't we Dorsia? Because Bateman won't give the maitre d' head.
He was part of that whole Yale thing.
Yale thing?
Yeah, Yale thing.
What do you mean, Yale thing?
Well, I think for one that he was probably a closet homosexual who did a lot of cocaine at Yale thing.
But maybe this reject could express self-hatred. Indeed, when confronted with homosexuality, for instance when Lewis Carruthers tells him he loves him, instead of killing the man the way he has previously killed both unknowing and innocent women, Patrick cannot face it. He zones out and flees in a frantic panic.
Patrick, why here? I've seen you looking at me. I've noticed your hot body. Don't be shy. You can't imagine how long I've wanted this ever since that Christmas party at Arizona Tour 6. You know, the one you were wearing that red striped paisley Armani tie. I want you. I want you too. Patrick!
What is it?
Where are you going?
I've got to return some videotapes.
Chapter 6. The acknowledging of his existence. Nonetheless, I do not think it is his bisexual potential that makes him unable to look in the eyes of Lewis Carruthers. As many other fans of the movie do, I do think that if he cannot kill either Lewis Carruthers or his assistant Jean, even when he tries to, it is because they are the only ones in the book that are in love with him.
I guess I do. For a long time I was too focused on my work, but now I've really begun to think about changing myself, you know, developing and growing.
Growing. I'm glad you said that. Forget it.
What's that?
Duct tape. I need it for, taping something. I'm looking for, I guess you could say I just want to have a meaningful relationship with someone special.
Patrick, I know you're there. Pick up the phone, you bad boy.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah. I don't think I can control myself.
They are acknowledging him as a human being and seeing him what he will never see, feelings. After Jean's love confession, Patrick does not understand why she loves him, because he thinks that nothing in him stands out compared to anybody else. Also, Louis and Jean being the only ones truly acknowledging him as an individual and as a human being, Louis seems to become the only one able to hear Patrick's confession. Often in the book, Patrick Bateman will try to admit his crimes, shamelessly, trying to be as explicit as he possibly can, vainly.
"What do you want to do, Bateman?" McDermott asks. Thinking about it, thousands of miles away, I answer, "I want to—" "Yes?" they both ask expectantly. "I want to pulverize a woman's face with a large, heavy brick." "Besides that," Hamlin moans impatiently. "Okay, fine," I say, snapping out of it. "Zeus bar."
So what do you do?
I'm into, murders and executions mostly.
Do you like it?
Well, it depends. Why?
Well, most guys I know who work in mergers and acquisitions really don't like it.
The office Halloween party was at the Royalton last week, and I went as a mass murderer, complete with a sign painted on my back that read, "Mass Murderer," which was decidedly lighter than the sandwich board I had constructed earlier that day that read, "Driller Killer." And beneath those two words I had written in blood, "Yep, that's me." And the suit was also covered with blood, some of it fake, most of it real. In one fist I clenched a hank of Victoria Bell's hair, and pinned next to my boutonniere, a small white rose, was a finger bone I'd boiled the flesh off of. As elaborate as my costume was, Craig McDermott still managed to win first place in the competition. He came as Ivan Boesky, which I thought was unfair, since a lot of people thought I'd gone as Michael Milken last year. The Patty Winters show this morning was about home abortion kits.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Great tan, Marcus.
Until now, whenever Patrick have had threatened someone or warned them that he was a serial killer, his interlocutors did not hear him or took it as a joke. Those calls appear as a cry for help, because he knows he cannot control what he wants, and sometimes it is as if he would rather be incarcerated or dead than keep on going with his meaningless life. However, when Patrick starts threatening him, Louis accepts it and asks him to kill him, since, in the eyes of Louis, there is no him without Patrick.
Still kneeling, I grab Louis by his heaving shoulders and calmly tell him, my voice lowered as threatening as possible, as if speaking to a child about to be punished. "Listen to me, Louis. If you do not stop crying, you fucking pathetic faggot, I am going to slit your fucking throat. Are you listening to me?" I slap him lightly on the face a couple of times. I can't be more emphatic. "Oh, just kill me," he wails, his eyes closed, nodding his head back and forth, retreating further into incoherence. Then he blubbers, "If I can't have you, I don't want to live. I want to die."
This supplication for death drives Bateman crazy, and even though he seems to never have hated someone more than Louis in this moment, he does not kill him and only gives him a handkerchief to clean off his tears off his face. Chapter 7. Bateman's final and incurable detachment from humanity. Finally, what definitely made me a fan of this movie and novel is how the gap between Patrick Bateman and humanity is expressed to the camera and to the reader in the book. Patrick Bateman cannot stop what he does because he does not even know what he is. Patrick does not see himself as a human, neither a demon, but has an empty shell. One of the rare funny and extremely cynical lines of Bateman occurs when he ends his relationship with his fiancée.
I don't think we should see each other anymore.
But your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. I really don't think it would work. You have a little something.
I know that your friends are my friends, and I've thought about that. You can have them.
You're really serious, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
What about the past? Our past?
We never really shared one.
You're inhuman.
No, I'm in touch with humanity.
He cannot feel. Everything is the fruit of mathematics and chemistry to him. He never laughs or loves. He only imitates and blankly smiles.
This was the geography around which my reality revolved. It did not occur to me, ever, that people were good, or that a man was capable of change, or that the world could be a better place through one's taking pleasure in a feeling or a look or a gesture, of receiving another person's love or kindness. Nothing was affirmative. The term generosity of spirit applied to nothing was a cliché, was some kind of bad joke. Sex is mathematics. Individuality no longer an issue. What does intelligent signify? Define reason. Desire, meaningless. Intellect is not a cure. Justice is dead. Fear, recrimination, innocence, sympathy, guilt, waste, failure, grief were things, emotions, that no one really felt anymore. Reflection is useless. The world is senseless. Evil is its only permanence. God is not alive. Love cannot be trusted. Surface, surface, surface was all that anyone found meaning in. This was civilization as I saw it, colossal and jagged.
Often, Patrick dissociates himself. He loses himself in the flux of names his interlocutors are using to address him, because they've confused him with someone else.
Is that Ivana Trump? Jeez, Patrick. I mean, Marcus, what are you thinking? Why would Ivana be at Texarkana?
Patrick, seriously. I'll do whatever you want, she says. If you don't want to go to dinner, we won't. I mean, it's okay, I stress. Something snaps. You shouldn't fawn over him. I pause before correcting myself. I mean, me. Okay?
At some point late in the novel, in a striking rage, Patrick shoots several people while running desperately in the streets of New York, and between two sentences, the narration suddenly changes. There is no more I, but only he and Patrick Bateman, as if he was watching himself killing all of those people and trying to flee from his own life. Since there is no consequence and no reference to this night ever again, we never know if it truly happened. This third-person view comes back during a conversation with Jean, in which she tells him she will do anything for him, since she desperately loves him, and he warns her not to trust Patrick Bateman. I cannot emphasize more on this by ending this review by giving you the most famous monologue of the novel and of the movie, which finally summarizes what Patrick Bateman thinks he is.
There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there. There are no more barriers to cross. All I have in common with the uncontrollable and the insane, the vicious and the evil, all the mayhem I have caused and my utter indifference toward it, I have now surpassed. My pain is constant and sharp, and I do not hope for a better world for anyone. In fact, I want my pain to be inflicted on others. I want no one to escape. But even after admitting this, there is no catharsis. My punishment continues to elude me, and I gain no deeper knowledge of myself. No new knowledge can be extracted from my telling. This confession has meant nothing.
Here we are, this is the end of this video. I hope you liked it, I hope you liked my analysis. I am aware that this video must be very long, and even though this video is already really long and must be really long to watch, I know that I haven't talked about all of the things I wanted to talk about. And something I wanted also to talk about, and I will perhaps emphasize on it in another video, is how a lot of people, a lot of misogynistic people or homophobic people tend to associate the character of Patrick Bateman to the epitome of masculinity, and they see him as an example for what masculinity is. And it really makes me laugh, because when you read the book and when you read the biography of the author, you realize that actually this character is more of an homosexual himself. He just is in denial. He's not alpha male, he's not a beta male. He's a shattered character that has no identity. And if it's that you want to have as a model, this is a little bit sad, and you should perhaps read the book based on the character you like the most. And also acknowledge the fact that the movie was made by a woman, so... So I hope you liked this video. I've had a lot of fun making it, and I'm already excited to make another video. And I think my next analysis will be about the novel Peter Pan and the movie with Jason Isaacs. Deal of inspiration. because I really like both of them, and I would like to make a whole analysis about both the book and the movie to analyze how the characterization is made and how the main themes are aborted, because I believe this is a real piece of work and a real piece of art as well. So we'll see each other in the next video. As I like to say, because I really like the movie The Truman Show, good morning, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.